Good evening, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. This is Rich again, back for your third and final video blog of the night for August 29, 2014, 7:50 p.m. in Billerica, Massachusetts. The sun is going down and the crickets are starting to chirp, and it's going to be a warm weekend. The humidity level is going to creep back up. Maybe we might reach 91 of the weekend days. And this is the last unofficial weekend of summer because all the kids go back to school on Tuesday or Wednesday. And the nights are going to get longer. And there's no news to report, so I'm on to my final video subject of the night. My final video subject of the night is about the cable network, game show network, also known as GSN. GSN runs game shows all day long and some reality shows which are game show related. GSN was formed in December 1st, 1994, owned by Sony Pictures. And Game Show Network, when they first went on the air, showed reruns of classic game shows from the Mark Goodson and Bill Todman library, the Chuck Barris library, the Merv Griffith library, and the Jack Barry and Dan Enright library. And they were competing with like the Family Channel's group that was owned at the time by Pat Robinson, and they were going to be called the Game Channel, and they were going to show game shows as well from like the Monty Hall, Stephen Haydas library, and Sandy Frank library, and the Bob Stewart library. But when the Mark Goodson, Bill Todman game show library was available, it signed with GSN, and the Game Channel proposed did not fly. And for the first about 2 years of Game Show Network, it heavily relied on classic game shows like Match Game and Family Feud. Richard Dawson's version was shown, and What's My Line, I've Got a Secret, To Tell the Truth, Password, Password Plus, Super Password, Tattletales, Card Sharks, and others from the Goodson Todman library, and reruns of The Joker's Wild, Tic-Tac-Toe, Bullseye, Play the Percentages from the Barry and Enright library, Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy from the Merv Griffin library, and The Dating Game, To Tell the Truth, and Gone Show from the Chuck Barris library. Some of these game shows were never reran before Game Show Network, the majority of them. Around 1996, Sony's Pictures bought the Bob Stewart library, which included a $100,000 pyramid, and all the pyramids, and also like Jackpot and Chain Reaction. And also GSN got the rerun rights to the Price is Right, hosted by Bob Barker. All of the Price is Right ones, except the ones with fur coats, which Bob Barker did not want because he's against fur. And they were added in 1996. And this is when GSN started to add original game shows, but some of the like trivia, decades, or time tracks, it was actually hosted by Peter Tamarkin. And the Game Show Network struggled to get viewers. It was slow on getting cable outlets because they just mainly ran classic reruns of game shows and very little original programming. And this is when cable networks really wanted to add new channels because they wanted to add because of original programming. This was when, like the late 90s, many of the cable networks were starting to get original programming and were good, but GSN was slow on that. And around October 1997 was not a good time for the Game Show Network because they lost the rights to the Mark Goodson, Bill Todman tape library. They lost their rights, except The Price is Right and Family Feud 1994 and 95, Richard Dawson's Comeback, because that was under a separate contract. So for about 6 months, GSN had to run the game shows from the other libraries, like Barry and Ann Wright and Merv Griffin and Chuck Barris and Bob Stewart, and they added some more originals, but they weren't that good. But in April of 1998, they had to regain the rights to the Goodson-Todman Library, and everything was happy again. This is when they started to add some good original programming like Inquisition, Love Buffet, Extreme Gong Show, and Throw and Neck, a kind of cartoon part game show, and the Love Buffet was a part game show, part sitcom. So they were doing pretty good. And in March of 2000, Game Show Network finally came on my cable system, and that was around April of 2000. That's when they lost the rights to Price is Right reruns because they could not negotiate a new contract. And GSM was kind of status quo for 2000, 2001. They were adding some original game shows like Hollywood Showdown, the all-new Three's a Crowd, DJ Games, Mall Masters, but they weren't hits. Around May of 2001, they got a new president of GSN, Rich Cronin. He replaced the old president, Mark Fleming, who was not keen on acquisitions of classic game shows, but Rich Cronin was, and Rich Cronin started to acquire classic game shows like Press Your Luck, Let's Make a Deal, the original Hollywood Squares, Win, Lose, or Draw, and Love Connection. Also, he went after The Weakest Link, and reruns of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And this is when they were starting to add great original game shows like Whammy, the all new Press Your Luck, Friend or Foe, Russian Roulette, Cram, and Win Tuition, and one of their most successful original game shows, Lingo, hosted by Chuck Worley. It was the best original game show in GSN history. And in about March of 2004, Game Show Network was rebranded GSN, and this is when they went on the deep end of getting a lot of kind of reality-based game shows, which they stunk, and they almost completely eliminated most of the classic game shows on the air. And around 2005, there was new management at GSN, and they started to bring back the classics, and they started to show more Goodson-Todman game shows that were hidden in the vault since the 90s. And also they started to phase out the other libraries. They had Barry and Ann Wright shows, and Chuck Perry shows, and Merv Griffin shows, and were not being shown because I heard something that they lost the rights to them to be aired, all the episodes, so they had to release them by season. And GSN started to add more original game shows again, Chain Reaction, a new version, and several others. And they would continue to be pretty good, and the classics were being popular again up to 2008, 2009. Around 2009, GSN had to stop airing the majority of the Goodson-Todman Library, all of it, because they were starting now to lease season by season of certain Goodson-Todman game shows like Match Game and Password Plus and Password and Richard Dawson's Family Feud and stuff like that. But this is when they were starting to add reruns of the current version of Family Feud with Richard Kahn and John O'Hurley. Also, they added reruns of the class Deal or No Deal, and also had the syndicated version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire with Meredith Vieira and stuff like that. And the GSN was becoming more and more loaded with showing endless reruns of the Family Feud with Richard Kahn and John O'Hurley. It seems they were running crazy with them. And also GSN's got the a new version of the Newlywed Game and several original game shows that really I didn't care about, like Baggage with Jerry Springer. I didn't really care about that. And there was a few others. And, you know, it just continued and continued. GSN continued to become basically a repetitive channel, which I absolutely hated. Mainly the classic game shows are relegated to mornings, which isn't that great. But, you know, it's basically they want more current programming and stuff like that. And GSN's like new game shows they have on the air are like that. Is like The Chase. The only reason people watch The Chase are Brooke Burns. And also Think Like a Man, or whatever they call that show. And It Takes a Church, an American Bible Challenge. But they've had some good ones like Catch-21. I think that was one of the best ones besides Lingo and a few others. But the GSN really needs to stop the repetitiveness of like the Family Feud, especially with Steve Harvey. They're continuing to run that show to the ground. I don't know why they're rerunning it like crazy. Why can't they show the classics? Why can't they show the classics again? Make a deal with the owners of the Goodson Todman Library. Try to add more seasons of certain classic shows. Maybe put them in prime time. They could get high ratings. They probably get higher ratings than what they have for Family Feud reruns of Steve Harvey. No offense to Steve Harvey, but we see these reruns are like shown over and over again. And plus, you could watch the current season of Family Feud with Steve Harvey. And I bet there's some of the double reruns you could see on his show that's already on GSN. And what I would think, in a few more months, GSN will have its 20th anniversary. I think they should consider having a marathon of all the... not like... They should have like a marathon, a week-long marathon of all the shows they aired. At least one show that they aired at least once for the 20th anniversary. Plus, I think they should consider some new original game shows. Maybe update some classic ones. I think a good one they could update is like they could have a new version of Blockbusters. I'm open to them having have like a updated version of Match Game. You could do that. You could find a host and maybe 6 celebrities. Some of them could be reality stars, and some of them could be comedians. Maybe they could get like Betty White to do it because she's still around, and maybe Fanny Flag and Patty Deutsch. They're still around, and it would be good if they could do that, and other ones, and probably relegate the stuff of like of the other ones to limit it. Limit the amount of the stuff you show of like Steve Harvey's Family Feud maybe to twice a day and stuff, and the other ones. Try to get more classics back, GSN. You got money for it. Do it, because the people want to see the classic game shows again on GSN. Just show them the money to the owners of the Goodson Todman Library, and if you show them the money, they'll air it for you. And that's about it on GSN. I hope you enjoy these video blogs, and I'll be back tomorrow with at least 3 to 6 more video blogs. My next subject of the 10 greatest players of each NHL team is Columbus Blue Jackets, and the last one's going to be the Minnesota Wild on Sunday. And good night, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. See you tomorrow. Great feedback, and don't forget, if you want to shout out, private message me, and it will be shouted out. Good night, Facebook friends and YouTube followers. Bye.